Hello guys, as you can see by the title of the video, I will be listening in to the Health Commission of the US, whatever, kind of like a commission in which they get it up. This one is organized by the Republicans, of course, and they talk about stuff that seems important to them, and I think well, we'll watch. I'm going to watch it carefully and I'm going to divide this into several parts because I want to have things really clear and really logic without many emotions that will probably happen. I'm also trying to get a more clean aspect in things, not swear so much, try to be more logic about it. So, without any further ado, let's begin by watching. And as we watch, or probably at the end of the part, we will speak about it and I will give my opinion, my insight on this. That is also based on my own perception of things, and that is also based on what I see around here in terms of the news. The political the political statements. So let's just begin. We have a long time to listen into, but I will divide this into episodes so it's not so cumbersome, and so that it is, as I said, a bit more logic. Let's begin. Sorry about this. Sorry.
And we welcome everyone to today's hearing. Committee will come to order without objection. The chair is authorized to declare recess at any time. We welcome everyone to today's hearing on Europe's threat to American speech and innovation. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Alabama to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay, I'm going to skip this part because I don't do any pledges of allegiance. Okay. Go on.
The chair is now recognized for an opening statement. And then we will move to our to the ranking member's opening statement, and then our witnesses will get 5 minutes. I want to just take an opportunity, maybe before I even do an opening statement, to welcome everyone back. Hope everyone had a good break. The ranking member and I, along with a few other members, Mr. Kiley, Mr. Fitzgerald.
Is this a TV show or something?
I think Mr. Swalwell and Ms. Crockett all had
Do
a
your
wonderful
job,
visit
man.
to, and Mr. Cohen to Europe, where we talked about
God.
this issue, and we learned some valuable information then. So we look forward to today's hearing and hearing from our witnesses. But first, you got to listen to the chairman and the ranking member talk. On August 12th of last year, Thierry Breton wrote Elon Musk a letter. Thierry Breton is the commissioner in charge of enforcement of the Digital Services Act and the Digital Marketing Act. In the very first sentence, the guy in charge of enforcing this legislation passed by the EU writes this: "Dear Mr. Musk, I am writing to you in the context of recent events in the United Kingdom and in relation to the planned broadcast on your platform X of a live conversation between a U.S. presidential candidate and yourself." So think about it. The guy in Europe in charge of enforcing a European Union law.
Let me just interrupt him right here and right now. He is talking exclusively in a European point of view, meaning we don't care what happens in the United States, but your platforms that work in our countries, because the EU is not a country, unlike the ignoramus that is talking right now seems to believe. And if American platforms of media are going to work in our countries, and they have to follow our laws. Okay, so out of the start, here we have some nice bias. Uh, let's continue.
Writes an American about an American company, about an American election, and he says the context for the letter, the reason for the letter are events that are happening in the UK, a non-European Union country. That's not Europe trying to influence what happens here. I don't know what is. He goes on throughout the letter and says this: measures need to be taken to combat disinformation. He told this to Mr. Musk. We're concerned.
The United Kingdom was being used as an example of what is being done in Europe. Okay? The United Kingdom was being used as an example of what is happening in Europe, of what X is doing in Europe. And besides that, the United Kingdom is important to the EU because it is, well, a European country. Europe, the continent.
About any, quote, illegal content you may have. And he ends his letter by saying, my services and I, very last sentence, my services and I will be extremely vigilant to any evidence that points to breaches of the Digital Services Act and will not hesitate to make full use of our toolbox. So he ends the letter with a threat. So before the interview even takes place.
Not a threat. Not a threat. This is something that is very normal when you receive a letter from, for example, a barrister, a lawyer. For us, we don't use that term barrister, we use lawyer. When a lawyer sends you a letter and warns you of what he will do, he or she, whatever, it's usually more than one. And in this case, the Commission is adopting the language that is exclusively legal and that is used in continental law, in European law. And if this gentleman was not so ignorant about what continental law is, he might understand the sense of what is being said. But I guess that does not favor his narrative. Let's continue.
He's threatening an American running an American company about an
Working
interview
in
regarding the most important election we have, election of
Working
the
in
President of the
Europe.
United States. And again, saying the reason for doing so are events that are happening in a non-European Union country, the UK. Comments about events happening in the UK. Concerned about this, quote, spillover effect. That is why we're having today's hearing. That's why we went to Europe last month, or actually in July, to...
You did not went to Europe. The EU is not Europe. The EU is the collective will of most European countries, but not all of them. When the EU acts in the international plane, it is also acting accordingly to the alliances that we have with a lot of countries, including the United Kingdom.
Study this issue now. Here's what's interesting. Mr. Breton, after he sends this letter, this committee sent him 2 letters, and then he suddenly resigns. We asked him to come today, but he refused to come. We asked him to send written testimony. He refused to do that.
He has the will to do whatever he wants. He does not want to be subjected to the circus in the United States. Or maybe he's just worried that because he's not pro-Trump, he might arrive at the airport and get detained by ICE. And furthermore, he does not need to tell you anything because he is not someone acting on his own. He's the representative of an entity. So the entity can send whoever they want to talk with you. But you don't even have the authority to have a representative of a commission in your little committee hearing.
We asked him to appear. He refused. He just wouldn't come. I think it's important to remember what the House Judiciary Committee did last Congress. We investigated our government, the Biden administration, their attacks on free expression here in
And there it goes again. Biden is to blame. It's always the same thing. It was Biden's fault.
the United States. What Michael Schellenberger journalists called the censorship industrial complex.
Oh God, this
Big
is so
government,
boring.
big tech, big media, big academia, all working together to censor Americans.
I wonder what is this? These fabulous entities, these myths that they create about big academia, big this, big that. Why don't you identify the entities that you believe that are damping down on your parade, raining down on your parade? Sorry, I'm not a native English speaker. So funny.
We learned all kinds of things in that investigation. We learned on April 27th of 2022 that the Biden administration had established a disinformation governance board. That's right. A bunch of bureaucrats going to get together and tell you what you can say, what you can tweet, what you can post.
Oh, really? Proofs? No proofs. Okay. Oh, okay.
What you can read, what's misinformation, what's disinformation.
Because it's the role of the state to regulate, to tell you, for example, when someone is committing a crime of misinformation, for example. I don't know if it's a crime in the United States, but it's a crime around here. That's the role of the state.
And the new term they come up, what's malinformation? Thank goodness, because many of us raised concerns about that, they disbanded that disinformation governance board.
Just look at his demeanor. Constantly shaking, constantly returning to his little narrative that is all written down in his little papers, picking up the glasses to assert intelligence. This is very interesting indeed. The spot is interesting.
We no longer had that.
His
We heard
behavior.
from journalists like Mr. Schellenberger, like Matt Taibbi regarding the Twitter files. We heard from Tulsi Gabbard. We heard from RFK Jr., all Democrats, frankly. In fact, I took some heat for that. What are you doing bringing Democrats in front of the judiciary? We brought them in because they care about the First Amendment. It was interesting. When RFK Jr. came in to testify, the Democrats actually made a motion to go to executive session. Kick everyone out. No journalists, no one was allowed. They wanted to kick everyone out, go to executive session so no one could hear what RFK Jr. was going to testify to in a hearing on censorship. You can't make this stuff up. We learned that on January 23rd. Think about that, by the way.
Sorry.
We learned on January 23rd, 2021, maybe point this one out first, that there was an email. So the third day of the Biden administration, there was an email sent from the White House to Twitter which said, take down this tweet ASAP. And who had issued the tweet? Who had put out the tweet? RFK Jr. So you had the Biden administration trying to censor a fellow Democrat who was going to run against him.
It's the Biden administration doing their job of protecting the Constitution and of protecting the American people of misinformation. And we can now see the wonderful job that RFK Jr. is doing in your country. I only hope that the epidemics of diseases are not, let's call it, are not strong enough to kill a lot of people, but a lot of people will die.
In the Democrat primary, I mean, that is, and everything in that tweet actually were true statements. So we learned all that last year, and of course our investigation culminated with a letter from Mr. Zuckerberg on August 26, 2024 last year, where he said, yes, the Biden administration pressured us to censor. We did it. We're sorry, and we won't do it again.
Zuckerberg and all the media moguls will say whatever they have to say to be in a good graces graces, sorry, of Mr. Trump and his government. So you are taking the word of someone that has a bias, that has a motive to lie, instead of a government that was doing their job. Okay, yeah, I understand.
In Meta, Facebook has now subsequently changed policy. They now go to the community notes policy instead of the, quote, independent fact checker approach that was being used before. We had one other witness last Congress, a journalist from Canada, Rupa Subramanya, who I thought said something that was really important. She said, free speech is a core value of Western culture. And that is true. And that's what our concern is. We're concerned about the attacks on free expression in Europe, censorship,
We
the
don't need your
arrest
help.
for offensive posts, the chilling effect it all has on speech. But we're more concerned, frankly, as Americans, about the limits the DSA, the Online Safety Act in the UK, put on Americans' First Amendment rights, and the shakedown. And I think that's the appropriate term, the shakedown of American tech companies under the DSA, the OSA, and the Digital Marketing Act Digital Markets Act in the European Union.
American companies, if they work in Europe, they have to obey our laws. It's not a shakedown, it's just the law. And if you are so interested in sovereignty, then maybe you should understand that. But again, it's not the narrative. Okay.
These acts target our tech companies that provide the modern town square, and they are the engines of innovation in our global economy. Since the turn of the century, European tech companies have languished behind their American counterparts. European governments have tried everything to change this.
No, they have not. In fact, we have been innovating science, and you have been leeching on our discoveries.
Except what might actually work, deregulating their own economy and letting free enterprise flourish. Instead of cutting red tape and allowing their own companies to innovate and grow, the EU and the UK are going after American companies.
No one is going after American companies. American companies work in Europe, hence they have to obey the laws both in the United Kingdom and in the EU.
That have grown to dominate the global tech landscape.
No, you dominated the global techscape because you practice a type of aggressive capitalism that knows no morals. And now that your empire is being, let's call it, threatened, you are trying to turn the table and say others are oppressing you when you are the oppressor.
Regulations like the EU's Digital Markets Act and the UK's Digital Markets Competition and Consumers Act impose burdensome requirements on US tech companies while leaving their European counterparts untouched.
The European counterparts are untouched because they already follow the rules. If you don't want to follow the rules, if your companies don't want to follow the rules, then all you have to do is leave.
But these attacks on American companies won't result in a so-called European champion. Instead, China wins as Europe hurts both itself and America.
Europe is doing business with China too. Europe has just made an economic, political, and strategic agreement with the central countries in Asia. For example, creating a railroad that will bring Chinese products from China and take European products from Europe to China in less than 50 days, 44 days. That is much less than any shipment, and that avoids things like, for example, the shit that you have created in the Suez Channel, sorry, with your support to Israel and their war of aggression. Europe is doing business with China too. You are the only ones that are unable to do business with anyone.
They make the user experience worse They
No,
distort the digital marketplace
no, they don't. They make the user experience more safe.
by allowing less innovative and less efficient forms
No, more efficient and more innovative process. Because if you have to work with those types of parameters, then you cannot use the type of uh, data flooding that your companies use.
foreign competitors to simply steal from U.S. tech companies. In addition to attacking American tech
You are the ones that stole technology from Europe and from everywhere.
companies, Europe is attacking free speech around the world, including here in America. Laws like the Digital Services Act and the Online Safety Act are the engines of global censorship regime targeting political speech disfavored by European bureaucrats.
The European bureaucrats are elected by us. We elect them to do their job. If you don't like it, then don't come to Europe. But at least our bureaucrats are not elected by elections that you buy via the ones that support your campaigns. Politicians in Europe, Peru, don't have any paid support.
The censorship mechanism is simple. The DSA and the OSA effectively require social media platforms to change their terms of service to moderate more content.
Exactly. Hence, obeying our laws.
These companies have one set of standards that they apply globally because it's costly, impractical, and harmful to user privacy.
No, it simply does not allow you to do what you were doing, that was stealing data from European users at a massive scale.
To change content moderation rules based on a user's location. So when platforms are
Exactly. That way, your companies can continue to do their dirty little job in your own country, but in our countries, they will do whatever we tell them to do.
forced to change their terms of service to comply with European laws, it affects what we see, what we read, what we say online here in America.
We don't care what happens in America. This only has to do with Europe. They can continue to work as they always worked in your country. But here, no.
Infringing on Americans' First Amendment rights.
There is no infringement because the legal aspect of the measures do not affect them. They just affect users in Europe.
And this is no accident. Even the New York Times, The Atlantic have acknowledged that these foreign censorship laws are intended to have global impact. And Europe
They have global impact. They have global impact because Europe has a global impact. Because what we do here is listen to. You scream to be heard. We speak to be heard.
European actions have proven it. Again, just look at Mr. Breton's letter. Supporters say these laws make the online environment safer for children, something that we all agree with. We all want to protect kids. But censorship laws are never about disinformation or child safety or anything else. They're always about censoring criticism.
You should know that. When you started with your little censorship, with what was it, her name? Something Gore, the wife of one of your vice presidents, that got metal players and singers into the courts, and that established limits of age and whatever you wanted to do, and then you try to impose those same limits all over the world, and people told you to shut off. And now you are trying to do exactly the same thing. So, but this time you are not liking that you are the ones that are not thinking about children, and you are not thinking about your citizenship. But we don't care about your citizens, we care about ours.
Of the government. Social media is a relatively new technology, but censorship is as old as time.
Yes,
Disinformation, hate
is what
speech
you are doing.
labels are always used by the people in power to censor their critics. In my
Just like Mr. Trump is doing.
experience has taught me that today's misinformation is tomorrow's truth. And we have seen it time and time again. I
Release the Epstein files.
always like to point out everything the government told us about COVID turned out to be wrong. Everything our government told us about COVID. I'm not even talking about Europe here. Everything.
And you still you still don't believe in COVID, you still don't believe in vaccines, you still live in your little world of medieval peasantry. I came to you know what I have come to realize is that Americans, at least this type of Americans, they are like medieval peasants. They're like medieval peasants. It's the same mindset. I don't think they ever evolved from it. Let's finish listening to this person so that we can
They
end
told
this
us that
video.
the virus didn't come from a lab. Sure looks like it did. They told us it wasn't gain of function research done at the lab. Yes, it was. They told us it wasn't our tax money used at the lab. Yes, it was. They told us vaccines. They told us that the vaccinated can't get it. They told us the vaccinated.
No one says the vaccinated can't get it. No one said the vaccinated can't get it. What it was told is this: the vaccine is like telling your body who the virus is, and so that your body can fight the vaccine. I was vaccinated, I had 3 boosters, and I still got COVID. Only instead of dying because of my specific, let's call it health problems, I would die. Instead of dying, I just spent a couple of days with a lot of fever, with a lot of pain. But I survived COVID. Okay, my friend, and you still don't understand what a vaccine is. That is why you are still living as medieval peasants.
Can't transmit it. They told us mask work. They told us 6 feet social distance was based on science.
It's based on science because we discovered how the virus spread. And it spread by contact, for example, by leaving some saliva on a table or some sweat or whatever, or coughing, just like in a common cold. But I guess that is a bit too much for you to understand. Oh, and the masks were for the same thing too.
And they told us this was the first virus in history where there's no such thing as natural immunity. They were 0 for 8.
Yes, there is no natural immunity for the COVID virus. The difference is some people get it. If, for example, someone that is not vaccinated gets COVID and survives it, yes, of course, a person can survive it. But did you see what happened to the majority of the people that got it? Unvaccinated?
And yet they're going to define with some disinformation governance board what we can say, what we can tweet, what we can read, what we can post. You got to be kidding me. As RFK Jr. testified before our committee,
RFK Jr. again.
never forgot what he said. He said, when
What
you
an
look
example.
at history, it is never the good guys who are for censorship. It is always the bad guys, and that's our concern. We need
You're
debate.
repeating
The best way to
yourself.
answer bad speech, wrong speech, stupid speech, crazy speech, even hate speech is more speech. We need the First Amendment. Our committee will continue to move legislation that protects free speech from threats, including threats from abroad. And with that, I now recognize our ranking member for his opening statement.
All right. Let me just focus back on me. Like I told you, I'm trying to keep this low key, keep my emotions on check because when I start to listen to people that don't even understand how a vaccine works or the, the legal consequences of what is decided in the European Commission, the legal position of the people that are part of the institutions, when he doesn't understand that, for example, all MPs, all the commission, they are elected, okay, and that we elect people in PR, proportional representation in all of our countries. Okay, so we elect people directly, vote in a party, and those people go to the EU, and those people decide how things work. Then all of those the political representatives that have the political authority to be in the position that they are, they have a set of people that work for them. A lot of Portuguese people work in the European institutions. I know a couple of people that work there. It's nothing. They're public officials, okay, just like any civil servant. Okay, so that surprise that the gentleman did not, he resigned. He did not want to talk with him. First of all, I don't even know if he resigned, and if he resigned, why he did it, I don't know. Secondly, maybe that his commission of work uh, had simply ceased. There are a lot of people that go to work for 1 year, 2 years, whatever, or to work in specific mechanisms of the EU, specific commissions that are created to deal with an issue, whatever. But the key issue here is he calls bureaucrats. So he has this look. The EU has its issues, of course, like any large institution. But the key issue here is that he calls us bureaucrats when in fact they are the bureaucrats. In the definition of bureaucracy, something that is useless, that only creates more issues in order to justify its own importance, they are bureaucrats because they are not just they have no importance. The Americans could be very well indeed without them. They could have actual people working for them and not people working for interest groups. The election part is also very interesting. In the United States, you need money, you need this, you need that, you need the support of money from others, money that then those people that pay you will come back to get you. And you arrive at a country like, for example, Portugal, and a candidate can say clearly that he supports an institution. Say, for example, he's a Catholic and he's against abortion, for example. That candidate can say that. It's perfectly acceptable. But the parties, in their campaign actions, they only have funding from two sources. The state itself, that pays them a fixed commission that is fixed by law for their activity as a political party, and volunteers that work for the party. Interesting. No money, no lobbies, no nothing. And we are the socialist ones. Well, this was just the first part, okay? In the second part, we'll listen to the Democratic representative, okay? I'm going to record these videos in this tone, very slow, man, analyzing the words that are said, okay? Because when you are when I'm listening to these people, I'm doing this in my head. But I understand that maybe some people get lost. Sorry, bit late. Uh, it's a bit late right now. Uh, some people get lost in these words, in all of this wording, and they sometimes miss a couple of things. Like for example, his entire physical behavior. You know that doing this, and I know this truth. Okay? Picking up the glasses and shoving out. Look, I'm so very intelligent. You see, I'm even taking off my glasses to make a point so that you understand that I am being absolutely truthful. You know, this is dime store psychology. No. Well, Thank you all for listening. As I said, we will continue from where we stopped, and I'm going to make all of the videos more or less in the same size. Okay. Well, thank you all for listening. Goodbye.